My sister slipped a $9,000 diamond ring into my 16-year-old son's hoodie and screamed, "Check his pocket." Security dragged him out in front of the whole restaurant. My mother swore she saw him take it. My father said, "Thieves raise thieves." I didn't beg. Then I opened one video that made my sister stop breathing. The ring came out of my son's pocket the way planted things come out, too easily, too quickly, and in front of too many witnesses for the ease to be accidental. Tavon was sitting in the booth at Magnolia Grill with his hands around a glass of sweet tea when Margot stood up from the table, pointed at him, and said the sentence she had been rehearsing since before we arrived. "Check his pocket. Check his right pocket. He took my ring." The restaurant went quiet the way restaurants go quiet when someone raises their voice, and the raised voice contains an accusation. 62 diners, 14 tables, a Saturday evening at 7:41, the hour when every seat is full and every table is watching, and a 16-year-old boy in a navy blue hoodie is suddenly the center of a room he did not ask to be in. The host called security, not the police. The restaurant's own security guard, a man in a black polo who had been standing near the entrance checking IDs for the bar, walked to the table in 9 seconds. 9 seconds between the accusation and the arrival, which is not enough time for a boy to understand what is happening, but is enough time for a room full of strangers to decide he is guilty, because accusation travels at the speed of volume, and innocence travels at the speed of evidence, and evidence had not arrived yet. "He has my ring in his pocket. It is a diamond ring worth $9,000. Check him." The security guard looked at Tavon. Tavon looked at me. His eyes were the eyes of a 16-year-old who does not understand why his aunt is pointing at him, and why a man in a black polo is walking toward him, and why the restaurant has gone quiet, and why his sweet tea is still full, and his evening is suddenly empty of everything except the sound of his aunt's voice saying words that do not belong to the truth. "Sir, can you empty your pockets?" Tavon stood up. He reached into his right pocket, the zipper pocket on the navy blue hoodie I had given him for his 16th birthday 3 months ago. The pocket he kept his earbuds in and nothing else. And his fingers found something that was not earbuds. Something small, something hard. Something that had not been there when we walked in 20 minutes ago, because I had watched him zip the pocket in the parking lot after putting his earbuds away. The habit of a boy who takes care of the things his father gives him. He pulled out a ring. A diamond ring in a platinum setting. The stone caught the restaurant light and threw a small rainbow across his palm, and the rainbow was the most beautiful and the most wrong thing in the room. "That is my ring." Margot's voice was loud enough for the tables near the door to hear. "He took it from my purse when I went to the restroom. I do not want it back from his hands. Keep it." She told the security guard to hold the ring. She did not take it back. She left Magnolia Grill without the ring, which meant the ring was technically unrecovered by the owner, which meant the insurance claim she would file Monday morning could state that the ring was stolen and not returned, because Margot had engineered the recovery to look like a refusal, and the refusal was the gap between the ring and the claim, and the gap was worth $9,000. The security guard took the ring from Tavon's hand. He took Tavon by the arm, not gently. The grip of a man who has been told a theft has occurred and has been trained to respond to the accusation first and verify it later. He walked Tavon through the dining room, between tables where couples were cutting steaks, and families were passing bread, and a woman at table 9 had her phone out recording, because a phone and a scene are two things that find each other in the same second. And the recording was another piece of evidence that I would not need, but that existed in the world now. A stranger's video of my son being walked through a restaurant with a guard's hand on his arm, and a ring he did not steal in a bag he did not open. The walk was 38 feet from the booth to the front door. I know the distance because I measured distances for a living, and the 38 feet between booth 6 and the entrance of Magnolia Grill was the longest hallway I had ever walked. Longer than any aisle in any store I had ever surveilled. Longer than any path between a camera and a suspect, because the suspect was my son, and the camera was 62 pairs of eyes, and the evidence bag was holding a ring that had been placed in his pocket by the same hand that had hugged him at Christmas 4 months ago. My mother Elke was sitting across the table from where Tavon had been. She put her hand flat on the table and said, loud enough for the security guard and the nearest 4 tables to hear. I saw him take it. He reached into her purse when she stood up. I watched him do it. She had not watched him do it. She had not watched anything. But the sentence was delivered with the certainty of a 64-year-old woman who has been told what to say and has decided that saying it is the same as seeing it. My father Britt was at the end of the table with his steak knife still in his hand. He looked at me, not at Tavon, not at the security guard, not at the door where his grandson was being taken, but at me. And he said, "Thieves raise thieves. You dress him like a street kid, let him wander restaurants with his hands in people's bags, and then act surprised when he takes something. This is what happens when a mall cop tries to raise a man." The sentence crossed the table the way a blade crosses a cutting board. Flat, deliberate, and aimed at the thing it was designed to separate. Mall cop, street kid, thieves raise thieves. 3 labels in one sentence, each one aimed at a specific part of my identity, my profession, my parenting, and my son's character. And the sentence was delivered in front of 62 diners and a security guard and a 16-year-old boy who was being walked out of a restaurant with his arm in someone's grip and his hoodie pocket empty and his evening destroyed. I did not beg. I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I watched Tavon walk through the door. I watched the security guard release his arm on the sidewalk. I watched my son stand alone on the concrete in front of a restaurant where he had been a guest 4 minutes ago and was now a suspect. And I walked out and put my hand on his shoulder and felt the navy blue fabric of the hoodie I had given him and the boy inside the hoodie who was shaking. Not from cold, but from the specific vibration that runs through a 16-year-old's body when he has been accused of something he did not do in front of a room full of people who believed the accusation before he had a chance to speak. "Dad, I did not take it." "I know. It was in my pocket. I do not know how it got there. I think I know how it got there, and I am going to prove it." I put Tavon in the truck. I drove home. I did not go back inside the restaurant. I did not confront Margot. I did not answer Britt's sentence or Elka's lie or the security guard's grip. I drove home with my son in the passenger seat and the hoodie zipped to his chin and the pocket where the ring had been sitting empty and open like a wound that has been cleaned but not closed. Welcome to Family Secret Tales, where the person they call a mall cop is the person who reviews security footage for a living. If your family has ever framed your child as a thief and called it justice, subscribe now. Because I did not beg. I went home and opened an app I use every day at work, and the footage that loaded on my screen made me understand that my sister did not lose a ring. She planted one. My name is Penn. I am 38 years old. I am the loss prevention manager for Kerrigan Retail Group in Atlanta, Georgia. I manage shrinkage analysis, security camera review, shoplifting investigations, and insurance claim verification across 14 stores. My salary is $74,000 a year. I review over 200 security footage files per month. I analyze camera angles, entry-exit timestamps, hand movements, concealment techniques, and the body language of people who are hiding something. I have testified in 43 shoplifting prosecutions, 11 employee theft cases, and 2 insurance fraud investigations. I know what a theft looks like on camera, and I know what a plant looks like on camera. The difference between the two is the direction of the hand. A thief's hand moves toward the body. A planter's hand moves away from it. My family calls my work mall cop stuff. My father Britt has never asked what loss prevention means. He has never asked how many cases I have built or why a retail chain pays a man $74,000 a year to watch cameras. He asked once at a family dinner 2 years ago whether I carry a real gun or a walkie-talkie gun, and the question was followed by laughter from Margot and the quiet of a table that has shared a joke at someone's expense and does not notice the expense because the person paying for it is also paying for the dinner. My mother Elka has referred to my job as watching people on screens, as if the watching were passive entertainment. She has never visited my office or seen the wall of monitors or the evidence locker or the file cabinet where I keep documentation for 312 closed cases. My sister Margot has never acknowledged that the man she calls a mall cop has a clearance rate of 94% and has saved Kerrigan Retail $1.2 million in shrinkage over 6 years. The family sees a security guard who stands near doors. And the security guard whose son just had a ring planted in his pocket is the professional who knows exactly how to find the footage, analyze the angle, and prove the plant. What my family also does not know is what I pay for. Every month I cover the family dinner at Magnolia Grill. First Saturday of every month. Same booth, same menu. Britt orders the ribeye. Elke orders the salmon. Margot orders the lobster tail. Craig orders the filet. Tavon and I order the chicken, which is the cheapest item on the menu, and the two people eating the cheapest item are the two people funding the table. The bill averages $600 with drinks and tip. 24 dinners over 2 years. $1,400 from the mall cop's paycheck, and not once in 24 months has anyone reached for the check. I also pay Elke's car insurance. $280 a month for 3 years. $10,080. Elke's independent rate was $540 because of 2 at-fault accidents. She asked me to add her to my policy as a family courtesy. The courtesy costs me $280 a month. The savings she receives is $260 a month. The gratitude she has expressed is $0 a month. Total invisible support, $14,400 dinners plus $10,080 insurance. $24,180 from the mall cop to the family that calls him a mall cop while eating his food and driving on his policy and planting rings in his son's pocket. Margot is 35. She is an office manager at a real estate brokerage. Her husband Craig works in pharmaceutical sales. Their combined income is $142,000 a year, which is nearly double mine, which makes the $9,000 insurance claim she filed on Monday morning not a need, but a strategy. Margot does not need $9,000. Margot needs $9,000 to disappear from her credit card balance before Craig sees a statement, because Margot has been spending on a card Craig does not monitor, and the balance has reached $11,400, and the minimum payments are no longer covering the interest, and the $9,000 insurance payout would erase the problem before the problem becomes a conversation. I know this because I'm a loss prevention manager, and loss prevention managers recognize financial desperation the way cardiologists recognize arrhythmia. By the pattern, not the symptom. The symptom was a ring in a pocket. The pattern was a woman who earns $68,000 a year and is $11,400 in credit card debt and owns an insured ring worth $9,000 and has a 16-year-old nephew whose hoodie has a zipper pocket. I have seen this pattern on camera 43 times in 14 years. A person with a valuable item and a debt they cannot pay will look for a way to convert the item into cash without losing the item. And the way is always insurance, and the method is always a stage theft, and the staging always requires a suspect who looks guilty enough for the claim to process. Margot chose a 16-year-old boy in a hoodie because a 16-year-old boy in a hoodie is the suspect that every insurance adjuster expects to see in a theft report, and the expectation is the bias, and the bias is the tool, and my sister used my son's appearance as a tool in her fraud. Saturday night, 9:15 p.m. My apartment. Tavon was in his room. He had taken the hoodie off the moment we walked through the door and folded it and put it on the shelf in his closet. Not hung it, folded it. The way a person folds something they do not want to see open because the opening reminds them of the thing that was inside it. The hoodie was on the shelf with the pocket facing down, as if hiding the pocket could hide the memory of the hand that reached into it and the ring that came out and the faces of 62 strangers who watched a boy pull a diamond from his own clothing and believed he had put it there. The pocket was empty now. The shelf was full. And the boy who wore the hoodie was lying on his bed looking at the ceiling with the expression of a person who has been publicly accused of something he did not do and is replaying the walk through the dining room in his head. 38 feet of tables and eyes and silence, and a security guard's grip on his arm. Over and over, because the walk is the part that stays when the explanation arrives and the ring is returned, and the facts are sorted. The facts sort quickly. The walk replays forever. I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and called Mr. Lux. Lux is the general manager of Magnolia Grill. 48 years old. He has run the restaurant for 14 years. I have known him for 6 of those years, ever since Kerrigan Retail hired his cousin as a store manager, and Lux came to the holiday party, and we discovered that we both work in industries where cameras are mounted on ceilings, and the truth is in the footage. Mr. Lux, I need to see your security footage from tonight. Booth 6, 7:30 to 7:45. I saw what happened, Penn. I was in the kitchen when security walked your boy out. I came out too late to intervene. What do you need? I need the camera angle on booth 6. Specifically, I need the 30 seconds before my sister said, check his pocket. I need to see who touched my son's hoodie. I will have it pulled for you by morning. Come by at 10. I need one more thing. The camera angle on seat 3. My mother's seat. I need to see what direction she was facing at 7:41. Lux was quiet for 3 seconds. You think your mother was not looking? I think my mother said she saw something she did not see, and I think the camera will confirm that. I will pull both angles. 10 a.m. Ask for me at the host stand. I hung up. I almost drove to Margot's house that night. The address was 12 minutes away, and every sentence I had was loaded, and the image of Tavan walking through the dining room with a security guard's hand on his arm was playing behind my eyes, the way footage plays on a loop when the loop contains the frame you cannot stop watching. But the hoodie stopped me. It was on the shelf in Tavan's closet, folded, pocket down, the way a boy folds something he wants to forget. Driving to Margot's tonight would have been for my anger. Waiting for the footage would be for my son. And a loss prevention manager who acts on anger instead of evidence is a loss prevention manager who loses the case. Sunday, 10 a.m., Magnolia Grill. The restaurant was closed for the morning. The parking lot was empty except for Lux's car and mine. And the emptiness of a restaurant on a Sunday morning is a different kind of quiet than a full dining room on a Saturday night. The way an empty stage is different from a performance. The seats are the same, but the audience is gone, and the only person watching is the one who knows where to look. Lux met me at the host stand with a USB drive and a laptop set up in the office behind the kitchen. The footage was already cued. Camera 1, overhead angle on booth 6, wide shot, all 6 seats visible, timestamp rolling. 7:38, 14 p.m. Margot excuses herself to the restroom. She stands. She pushes her chair back. She walks behind Tavan's chair. Her purse is on her shoulder. 7:38, 22 p.m. Margot pauses behind Tavan's chair. Her right hand drops from her purse to her side. In the same motion, her hand moves to Tavan's right side, to the zipper pocket of the navy blue hoodie, and her fingers push something into the pocket. The motion takes 1.4 seconds. Her body blocks the table's view. Nobody at the table can see her hand. The camera can. 7:38, 24 p.m. Margot continues walking toward the restroom. Her hand returns to her purse strap. Her pace does not change. 7:41:08 p.m. Margot returns from the restroom. She sits down. She reaches for her purse. She opens it. She looks inside. She looks up. 7:41:19 p.m. Margot points at Tavan and screams, check his pocket. 11 seconds. From sitting down to screaming. 11 seconds is not enough time to discover a ring is missing and determine who took it. 11 seconds is enough time to deliver a line that has been rehearsed. I watched the footage 3 times. Each time, the hand was clearer. The pocket was clearer. The 1.4 seconds of contact were clearer. The expression on Margot's face during the plant was clearer too. Calm, focused. The expression of a woman performing a task she has rehearsed. A loss prevention manager who has reviewed 12,000 hours of security footage in 14 years does not need to watch this more than once to know what he is seeing. I watched it 3 times because the first time was for the evidence, the second time was for the anger, and the third time was for the boy on the shelf in the closet with his hoodie folded pocket down. Camera 2, angle on seat 3, Elke's position. 7:38, 22 p.m., the exact timestamp of the plant. Elke is facing left, toward Britt, who is cutting his steak. Elke's head is turned 90 degrees away from Tavan. Her eyes are on Britt's plate. She is not looking at Tavan. She is not looking at Margot. She is not looking at anything except a ribeye being cut by a 66-year-old man who does not know his daughter is planting a ring in his grandson's pocket 3 feet behind him. Elke said, I saw him take it. The camera said she was looking at a steak. Welcome back to Family Secret Tales. If you are the parent whose family framed your child, and whose mother lied about seeing it, and whose father called you a thief while eating a dinner you paid for, hit subscribe. Because the footage is on a USB drive, and the USB drive is in the pocket of a loss prevention manager who has built 43 cases from footage exactly like this. And case 44 is about to be the most personal one he has ever filed. I almost stopped after the footage. 2 angles, 2 timestamps, 2 proofs. The plant was on camera 1. The false witness was on camera 2. That was enough for a police report, but the number $9,000 stopped me. The ring was worth $9,000. A woman who earns $68,000 a year does not frame her nephew for a ring she can afford to replace. A woman who frames her nephew for a ring she owns is a woman who wants the ring to be officially stolen so she can file a claim and collect $9,000 from an insurance company that will pay based on a police report that describes a theft that never happened. That is insurance fraud, and insurance fraud is something I investigate at work twice a year. Monday morning, I called Margot's insurance carrier. I identified myself as a loss prevention professional with evidence relevant to a pending claim. The representative confirmed that a claim had been filed that morning by Margot Hale for a diamond ring valued at $9,000, reported stolen at a restaurant on Saturday evening, filed Monday at 9:47 a.m. I provided my contact information and informed the representative that I possessed security footage contradicting the claim. The representative opened a fraud review file. Monday afternoon, I filed a police report with Atlanta PD. False accusation against a minor. Filing a false theft report with a private security officer. Evidence: restaurant security footage showing the ring being placed in the minor's pocket by the claimant, time-stamped 7:38:22 p.m., 11 seconds before the accusation. The officer assigned a case number. I also pulled my bank statements. 24 months of family dinners at Magnolia Grill, $1,400. 24 checks paid from Penn Hale's account for a family that ate ribeye and lobster tail and filet mignon, while the man paying ordered the chicken and his son ordered the chicken, and the chicken was the cheapest item on the menu, and the 2 people eating it were the 2 people funding the table. I canceled the auto pay Tuesday morning. I almost stopped after the insurance call and the police report and the payment cancellations. 3 systems activated in 2 days. The fraud review was open. The police report was filed. The money was cut. A case built on 3 pillars is a case that stands. But the hoodie stopped me. It was still on the shelf in Tavin's closet, folded, pocket down, untouched since Saturday night. My son was not wearing the thing I gave him because the thing I gave him was used as evidence in a crime his aunt committed against him. And a boy who folds his birthday present and hides it in a closet is a boy who needs more than a case file. He needs his father to stand in front of the people who did it and say the words that case files cannot carry. Elke's car insurance canceled. $280 a month returned to my paycheck. The policy would lapse in 30 days. If Elke drove after the lapse, the driving would be uninsured, and the uninsured driving would be Elke's choice, made possible by the absence of Penn's money, which had been making Elke's choices affordable for 3 years, while Elke made the choice to lie about watching her grandson steal a ring he did not steal. Thursday evening, 6 p.m. My apartment. They came because the police had called. Margot received a visit from a detective Wednesday afternoon at her office at the real estate brokerage. The detective asked about the ring, the restaurant, the claim. He showed Margot a still frame from the restaurant footage. Margot's hand inside the zipper pocket of a navy blue hoodie, timestamp 7:38:22 p.m., 11 seconds before the scream. The still frame was printed on a sheet of paper, and the paper was held 6 inches from Margot's face, and the face went white in the time it takes a woman to recognize her own hand in a photograph and understand that the hand is the evidence, and the evidence is the end of every story she has been telling since Saturday. Margot said nothing for 11 seconds. The detective left his card. Margot called Elke from the parking lot. Elke called Britt from the kitchen. Britt called Margot back and said, "We will go to his apartment and sort this out." Sort this out. The phrase Britt uses for every crisis that his family creates and his other child resolves, as if the sorting were a negotiation rather than a reckoning, as if the thing to be sorted were a misunderstanding rather than a crime. They arrived at 6:15. Three people in Elka's car, the car whose insurance I had just canceled, driven by a woman whose false witness statement was on a police report, carrying a man who had called his grandson a thief and a woman who had made the grandson one. I opened the door. I did not invite them to sit. I did not offer water or coffee or the automatic hospitality that families expect when they arrive at the apartment of the son they wronged. The laptop was on the kitchen table with the footage paused at 7:38:22. The USB drive was next to it. The hoodie was hanging on the back of Tavon's chair at the table, placed there by me that morning. Navy blue zipper pocket visible and unzipped. The pocket that had held a $9,000 ring for 3 minutes and a boy's trust for 16 years, and one of those things was returned to the insurance company, and the other was not coming back. Tavon was in his room. He did not need to hear this. He needed to know it happened, and I would tell him afterward. But the confrontation was between the adults who planned the frame and the adult who caught it. I am going to play a video. The video is 11 seconds long. After the 11 seconds, I am going to tell you what the 11 seconds cost. Margot's arms crossed. Elke stood behind her. Britt leaned against the doorframe. I pressed play. The footage ran. Margot behind Tavon's chair. The hand dropping. The pocket opening. The ring disappearing into the navy blue fabric. 1.4 seconds of contact. Then Margot walking to the restroom. Then Margot returning. Then sitting. Then the scream. The room was quiet. That is your hand, Margot. That is your ring. That is my son's pocket. And that is 11 seconds between planting the ring and screaming, check his pocket. 11 seconds. Not enough time to discover a theft. Enough time to deliver a performance. Margot's arms dropped. The camera angle is misleading. I was adjusting his hood. You were adjusting his hood by pushing a platinum set diamond ring into his zipper pocket. The footage is in 1080p. The hand motion is clear. The ring is visible in your fingers at frame 7:38:21. The ring is not visible at frame 7:38:23. In between those two frames, your hand is inside his pocket. That is not adjusting a hood. That is planting evidence on a minor. I clicked to the second angle. This is camera 2. Seat 3, mom's position, timestamp 7:38:22. The same second the ring was planted, I pointed at the screen. Mom, you told the security guard and the entire restaurant that you saw Tavon take the ring. The camera shows you facing left, toward Dad, looking at his steak. Your head is turned 90 degrees away from Tavon. You were not looking at Tavon when the ring was planted because you were not looking at Tavon at all. You lied. Elka's hand went to her chest. I thought I saw something. You thought what Margot told you to think. The camera shows what you actually saw, which was a ribeye on a plate. Britt straightened against the doorframe. This is a family matter. You do not need police and cameras for a family matter. You called my son a thief in front of 62 people. You said thieves raise thieves. You said I dress him like a street kid. You said a mall cop cannot raise a man. That was not a family matter, Dad. That was a public execution of a 16-year-old boy who had a ring planted in his pocket by his own aunt. And the mall cop is the one who pulled the footage. I turned back to Margot. Monday morning at 9:47 a.m., you filed an insurance claim for the ring. $9,000, reported stolen at a restaurant. The claim references a theft that the security footage proves did not happen. You planted your own ring on my son to create a theft report that would support a fraudulent insurance claim. That is insurance fraud. In Georgia, that is a felony under OCGA, Section 33-119. The insurance carrier has the footage. The fraud review file is open. Margot's face lost its color the way a screen loses its image when the power cuts. All at once, from the edges inward, until the center is the last thing still holding light, and the center is the eyes, and the eyes are looking at a laptop screen showing a hand in a pocket and a timestamp that says 7:38:22, and a fraud review file number that says the insurance company already knows. You did not lose a ring, Margot. You staged a theft. You used my son as the suspect. You used Mom as a false witness. You used Dad as the voice that called us thieves. And you used a restaurant full of people as the audience for a performance designed to support an insurance claim you filed 40 hours later. Margot took one step forward. I will drop the accusation. I will apologize to Devon, publicly, at the restaurant, in front of the staff. Just delete the footage, Penn. Delete it, and this goes away. I picked up my phone from the table. I set its screen up next to the laptop. The footage was playing on the phone and the laptop simultaneously. Two screens, same footage, same timestamp. The footage is in 3 locations. This phone, the USB drive, and the insurance carrier's fraud review file, which received a copy Tuesday morning. Deleting one screen does not delete the others, and the insurance company does not accept deletion requests from the person under investigation. Margot's knees did not bend. Her knees locked. The full body freeze of a person who has discovered that the evidence exists in a system she cannot reach, and the system does not accept apologies as currency. Her hands went to her sides. Her fingers closed into fists that were not about anger, but about holding, the way a person holds the edge of a table when the floor moves. Except there was no table near her, and the floor was moving, and the holding was happening in the air. Britt pushed off the doorframe. His body moved to the nearest chair, and he lowered himself into it with the controlled descent of a man whose legs have received information his pride is still processing. His hands went to his knees. His jaw was set, but his eyes were unfocused, staring at the laptop screen where his daughter's hand was in his grandson's pocket. And the staring was the staring of a man who said, "Thieves raise thieves," and is now watching the thief on the screen, and the thief is his daughter. Let me tell you what your ring cost my son. A security guard's grip on his arm, a 38-foot walk through a dining room full of strangers who believed he was a thief, his grandfather calling his father a mall cop, and a thief in front of 62 people, his grandmother lying about watching him steal, his hoodie folded in a closet because he cannot wear it without feeling the ring in the pocket, and 5 nights of a 16-year-old boy lying on his bed replaying the walk and the grip and the word thief on a loop he cannot stop. I looked at all 3 of them. I have paid for 24 family dinners at Magnolia Grill, $14,400 from the mall cop's paycheck. Not one of you has ever reached for the check. I have paid mom's car insurance for 3 years, $10,080. Not one of you has acknowledged it. And in return for $24,480 of invisible support, you planted a ring on my son, lied about seeing it, called me a thief, and filed a fraudulent insurance claim using my child as the prop. I picked up the hoodie from the chair. I held it up. The zipper pocket was open. The pocket was empty. The camera shows your hand in his pocket 11 seconds before you screamed. The insurance claim was filed Monday. That is fraud. I set the hoodie back on the chair. This is the last dinner, the last insurance payment, the last dollar from the mall cop to the family that used his son as evidence in a crime. Do not contact Tavon. Do not contact me. The police report is filed. The insurance investigation is open. And the footage will exist in the carrier system for 7 years, which is longer than it takes a 16-year-old to forget the walk, but shorter than it takes a father to forgive the family that made him take it. They left without speaking. Margot first, Elka behind her, Britt last, standing up from the chair with the effort of a man whose legs have learned something his mouth said 5 days ago, and his body is only now absorbing. Thieves raise thieves, and the thief was raised in the same house he was. The fallout was criminal, institutional, and financial. The insurance carrier completed its fraud review in 11 business days. The claim was denied. Margot received a formal letter stating that the claim for the diamond ring had been found to be fraudulent based on security footage contradicting the reported theft. The letter informed Margot that the carrier had referred the case to the Georgia Insurance Commissioner's Office for potential prosecution under OCGA, paragraph 33-1-9. Insurance fraud in Georgia is a felony punishable by 2 to 10 years and a fine of up to $10,000. The letter was mailed to the house where Margot and Craig lived, and Craig opened it because Craig opens the mail. And the letter was the first time Craig learned that his wife had filed an insurance claim for a ring she had planted on her nephew. And the conversation that followed the opening of the letter was the conversation Margot had been trying to avoid with the $9,000 payout. the credit card balance of $11,400 that Craig did not know about. The police report moved through the system. A detective contacted Elka the following week and asked about her statement at the restaurant. Elka said she believed she saw Tavon take the ring. The detective showed her the camera angle. Elke facing left, looking at Britt's steak, 90 degrees away from Devon. The detective asked how she could see a theft that occurred behind her. Elke did not answer. The detective noted the response and informed Elka that filing a false witness statement in support of a fraudulent theft accusation was a misdemeanor in Georgia. Elke's name was in the report. The report was in the system, and the system does not forget witnesses who face the wrong direction. The dinner auto pay was canceled. The first Saturday of the next month, the Hale family did not go to Magnolia Grill. Nobody suggested it. Nobody called to make the reservation. Nobody texted the group chat to confirm the time because the group chat had been silent since the footage, and the word fraud had entered the family vocabulary and replaced the word dinner. The booth that had been reserved for 24 consecutive months was available for the first time in 2 years, and the availability was the shape of a family that no longer had someone willing to pick up the check because the man who picked up the check was the man they called a mall cop, and the mall cop had closed his wallet the way he closed cases, with evidence, documentation, and a file that stayed closed. Elke's car insurance lapsed 30 days after cancellation. She received a notice from the carrier. The independent rate without Penn's policy was $540 a month, more than double what she had been paying on her son's account. Elke could not afford $540 on her retirement income of $1,800 a month. The car sat in the driveway. The woman who had testified that she saw her grandson steal a ring while facing the opposite direction was now facing a driveway with a car she could not drive. In the car's immobility was the physical shape of a lie that had seemed small in a restaurant and had grown larger in every room it entered since. Britt sat in his recliner on a Thursday evening, 2 weeks after the confrontation. The television was on, but the volume was low and the show was one he had seen before, and the recliner was the same recliner he had been sitting in for 11 years. The recliner where he watched football and ate dinner and made pronouncements about his family that he believed were wisdom and that his grandson now knew were cruelty. The word thieves was still in the room. It lived in the space between the recliner and the front door, the space Tavon used to walk through every other Sunday when Penn brought him for a visit. The space that was now empty because the visits had stopped, and the emptiness was louder than any football game and quieter than any apology Britt had not made. The man who said thieves raise thieves in front of 62 people was sitting in a recliner in front of one television in a house where nobody visited. And the recliner was the only seat in the room, and the room was the only room in the house. And the house was the only place Britt had left. Friday evening, 7 p.m., Magnolia Grill. Mr. Lux had reserved the booth. Booth 6. The same booth where Tavon had been sitting 6 days ago when a ring appeared in his pocket and a security guard appeared at his side, and 62 diners appeared in his memory as the audience for the worst moment of his life. The booth was set for 2, white tablecloth, 2 menus, 2 glasses of water. The restaurant was full again, a different Saturday crowd, different faces at different tables, but the same room and the same warm light and the same 38 feet between the booth and the front door. Tavon was wearing the hoodie, navy blue, zipper pocket closed. He had taken it from the closet shelf that morning and unfolded it and put it on without asking and without explaining. The decision of a boy who has decided that the thing that was violated does not belong to the person who violated it. The hoodie was his, the pocket was his, and the choice to wear it in the room where it was used against him was the choice of a 16-year-old who is learning that reclaiming is not the same as forgetting, and reclaiming is harder, and reclaiming is what his father does for a living. Walk into the room where the loss happened and prove that the loss does not own the room. We sat down. Lux came to the table himself. Not a waiter, not a host, the general manager. Mr. Hale, Tavon, welcome back. Dinner is on the house tonight. Tavon looked at the menu. He looked at the booth. He looked at the spot where the security guard had stood and the path through the dining room where the guard had walked him and the door where the walk had ended. He looked at all of it the way a person looks at a room they have returned to by choice, which is different from the way a person looks at a room they were taken from by force, because the difference is the direction of the feet, and tonight the feet walked in. "Can I order the ribeye?" Tavon asked. "You can order whatever you want." He ordered the ribeye, not the chicken. The ribeye. The cut his grandfather ordered every month at a table his father paid for. The $42 plate that Tavon had never ordered, because Tavon always ordered what his father ordered, and his father always ordered the chicken because the chicken was $18 and the ribeye was $42, and the difference was $24 that went toward the family's total that Penn was paying. But tonight the total was zero, and the ribeye was on the house, and the boy who had been called a thief ordered the most expensive item on the menu and ate it in the same booth where the accusation had been made. The eating was not revenge. The eating was a boy sitting in a chair that belongs to him, in a restaurant that welcomed him back, wearing a hoodie that is his, with a pocket that is empty and a plate that is full and warm, across from a father who is not a mall cop. He is a loss prevention manager. And tonight, the only thing he lost was the check, and the check was on the house, and the house was glad to have them back. Welcome back to Family Secret Tales. If this story reminded you that the person they call a mall cop is the person who finds the footage, and that a boy who returns to the room where he was humiliated is braver than the family that humiliated him, share it tonight. Hit subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me, has anyone ever planted something on your child and called them a thief? I will see you in the next one.